We are live. Hey everyone, it's Pamela Cummins and Sheila Balgobin. I hope I said that.
Balgobin.
Okay. And I want to let everyone know this is the first time I am running a live, and this is Sheila's first time on Substack Live. So please forgive us. Sheila is having storms, so who knows what's going to happen, okay? And also I'm not going to go into visit our website because you have all the information there. Although I want to say please follow us and subscribe. Okay? And today we're going to talk about dream meanings for cats. Obviously, I'm the crazy cat lady, and animals. And one of the things that I feel like is my life teaching to everyone is that symbols in a dream are not going to interpret your dream. If you have a dream about a cat, doesn't mean like one lady thought it was bad luck or it means you're catty or whatever. It can mean many different things according
Mhm.
to the individual dreamer, your past experiences, your future experiences, obstacles that are happening today, the way you were raised, okay, your society's belief, okay. Symbolism is very unique to the dreamer, and you'll see that when we go into our dreams. And I hope I'm lined up okay for the cell phone.
Pretty
I don't
much.
know what I'm doing, but we'll do our best. Um, and I don't see anybody in live in chat. So, okay. Anyhow, Sheila, I know you recently had a dream about a cat, and will you please tell us about your cat dream?
Yes, I was the a dream started with me laying in bed, and I had a little bunch of baby birds on the bed with me. Why they were there, I have no idea. But there's some new projects that I'm working on, and I assume that that's what they were referring to. But all of a sudden, a black cat jumped on the bed and started to go after the baby birds, and I was so upset that I literally flung the cat off the bed, and the dream ended there. Now, I mean, I love cats. I've had cats over the years, including black cats, and so I but in this particular context, for me, black cats mean there's something that's not quite right.
Mhm.
For example, when I was studying psychotherapy, my tutors became black cats who were like messing in things and getting into things. And basically, they were messing with my mind, so I felt. And so they were black cats. So for me,
Interesting.
black cats usually means somebody or something that's not quite right. And the fact that this black cat was going after my baby birds, which for me represented, when I look at it, some new things that I'm working on, I had to take action and get rid of the black cat. That was messing with my babies. So
Wow.
that was, it was a very short dream. It was literally a few moments, but because of past experience, well, just like you were saying, I knew that the intent of this black cat, and I had somebody very specific in mind when I woke up, that they were up to no good, and I needed to get rid of them. And I have subsequently gotten rid of them from my life. So,
Good.
um,
Yay.
yay.
Bye bye.
So that was my black cat dream.
Wonderful, wonderful. And again, I just want to you knew from past experience this symbol was familiar to you. Although I want to say sometimes you can have the same symbol and it'll mean something different in the context of the dream. You
Exactly.
had that protective feeling over the birds and you were like, get out of here. Because if you didn't, if you felt like, oh, kitty, yeah, come and play with my birds, it would have had a whole totally different meaning.
Right.
And for me, I love black cats, and black cats, it could have been Midnight who passed away coming to visit me. Okay.
Mm.
Or it could have been, don't tell my husband, a new black kitty. Or do you know what
Mm.
do you know what I mean? It could be so many different things. So many
Of
different
course.
things. great.
I mean,
And
and like you said, it's all about context. It's, I mean, it's like I said, I had gotten a different feeling about the cats, and like I said, I've had black cats. I love cats in general. I love animals,
right,
period. That, but the feeling that I got during the dream was like, mm-mm, no, 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 no. I'm not having this.
right,
So I had to get rid of that black cat and what it represented at that time. In another context, like you said, I had a cat that was Mindy as well, a midnight. So, like you said, could have been visiting on, but not in this context. It was up to no good.
yeah.
And I had to get rid of it.
Yeah, and dreams give us insights to what's going on in our life.
Mm,
Okay, and who's good, who is
absolutely.
not good. Like direction symbols, or I think you call them Substack dreams. I call, where
Oh,
I think
smokestack dreams. Yeah.
smokestacks, excuse me, where it's what's going on in the day, and you just
Hmm.
need to get rid of the feeling, or sometimes you're in denial and you need to accept it. Um,
Hmm.
I want to share a dream of mine because just like your dream, in a sense, was a warning dream, but it was also a solution dream.
Yeah.
Okay. And dreams often give us a solution. And this happened many years ago. My cat, Midnight, had passed. Okay. And I was grieving her very much. All
Mhm.
right. Very, very much. And as a distraction, I was checking out parakeets because I never had a parakeet before. Okay.
Oh,
And I finally purchased a parakeet. It was about maybe 3 weeks to a month afterwards, and I
mhm.
felt really good getting this parakeet. And I didn't know what to call it. And in my head, because I have psychic abilities like we all do, I heard birdie bird. All right. So called the parakeet birdie bird, brought it home, put it in the room. And then I realized what I did. I did, what is that called? A rebound. When it's kind of
Okay.
like people go from like, relationship to relationship so they don't feel fully grieved. And I was like, oh my God, I did a
You
rebound.
got rebound.
Yeah, that's right. And
Rebound.
I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done this because I was still missing Midnight and I didn't know what to do. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I should find another home for this bird because it's not fair to Birdie Bird when I'm grieving someone else. And I was like,
Hmm.
all right, I'll ask in a dream. Okay, so I asked, what should I do with Birdie Bird? And that night I had a dream where I was like, I can't remember. I think it was like an ocean or but we were by water. Okay, and there
Hmm.
were all these funky looking birds. I had never like they're not on Earth, okay? They're it's hard to describe. They were blue and Birdie Bird was a blue parakeet, okay? And I mean there are thousands of them all around. And then, like birds do, all of a sudden it flew.
They
They
all take
all
off.
flew
Yeah.
away. And there was one bird left, and it's the bird telepathically said to me, I want to stay with you.
Oh.
Isn't that sweet? So I kept Birdie Bird. And Birdie Bird was a sweet bird. We used to do this where Birdie Bird would close his eyes, and then I'd close my eyes, and he'd open them while my eyes were closed. It was like a little, yeah.
Little
He was
game.
the sweetest bird. Okay, so yeah, other animals can come into our dreams, and they give us solutions.
Hmm.
And
Yep,
I
they
just want
can.
to share one more solution dream. Actually, I'm getting to share another dream. All right. When Midnight died, right? Or
Hmm.
was it Midnight? Yeah. And I had gotten the bird. About 9 months later, I got this craving to get another cat. All right. And
Hmm.
so that was when I got Merlin, an all white cat. Okay. And that's another story. But anyhow, that night, and you mentioned short dreams, and short dreams can be very powerful. Okay.
Hmm.
So that night,
Absolutely.
I had a dream where Midnight was like on a podium and she jumped down and Merlin jumped up. And that was a sign for like the next chapter. It was also a
Mhm.
solution that it's time to take Midnight off the podium and let Merlin on the podium. You know,
Oh, look at
isn't
that.
that kind of cool?
I mean, but and the people, I think they do have, intimate relationships with their pets. I mean, when we our cat Ella, she came to us suddenly. She made good friends with the dog we had, a little Pomeranian,
Mm,
and the two of them were inseparable. I mean, they would have conversations all the time. And when we lost her, I mean, we lost the dog. I mean, she was attacked by another dog out of the
mm,
blue, and she couldn't survive the injury. She was too badly injured. So once we lost her, it's like, wow. It's like
mm.
Ella Ella got depressed. She actually got depressed, and, I think because we were all a bit down,
Right.
she took off. Usually she would go outside, she'd have this tryst with an with another cat, and and, El, and then Pippa would call her back into the house. It's like, okay, you've had your fun, come home now. But once Pippa was gone, she took off and she never came back. It was like, I don't know, so we were saying maybe she was just too depressed, and, we
Right.
were too sad, or maybe her work with us was done.
Right.
And she moved on to another family. I'd like to think that nothing happened to her and she moved
Right.
on to another family.
Or maybe
But
somebody kidnapped her.
yeah,
That could be
could
true.
be, because she was always close to the house. She never went very far. So when she was completely, we're calling and calling and calling, and she never turned up, I think that she went to the boyfriend's house. I'd like to think that anyway. But, it was the kind of thing she always seemed to know, emotionally, when something was going on with us, and she'd come and she'd, like, bat us a little
Right.
bit, or start to, kind of like snuggle up next to us. So we do have a psychic bond with our pets. We
Okay.
always do. I mean, people don't think about it as much, or as maybe not as aware as much, but they feel as just as we do. They get depressed, they get upset, you know they have affairs, apparently.
Well, yeah, they
So
have feelings.
they do, of
Yeah,
course
they
they
love.
do. They grieve just as we do.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize how sad our pets can get, and that's why sometimes they'll come and they'll rest their heads, on our lap, or, touch us on the arm or something like that, because they're feeling what we're feeling as well.
Right. Right. And that's they're comforting us.
Absolutely.
And and
Absolutely.
and I want to say that bond that they have with us, that love, okay, and anybody out there who thinks cats definitely love, okay, and they
Mm.
will greet, like dogs, they will greet you by the door, okay. Sometimes if I'm gone for a while, like if I go away, I have 5 cats that greet me by the door, okay. So yes, they greet
They're
you
all
by the door.
clamoring.
Yeah,
I love.
it's, it's like, who should I pet first? But also when they die, just like how Midnight got off the podium, they're still with us. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
why they come into our dreams, just like our
Mhm.
deceased loved ones come into our dreams. And I might have shared because I love this dream, okay, because it really shows like the personality of a cat. They can be so lovable, and then other times it's like, go away, right?
Well, people are like that too. I
Yeah,
love
that's
you. I love you.
true.
Go away. Just go away.
Right.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. I'm busy. I'm busy. And I do that to my cats. But and Sheila, you might have heard this dream because Sheila and I forgot to say, Sheila and I have done many of these together. Not on Substack. This is our first one. So hopefully I hopefully it comes out okay on the cell phone, but because I'm on a desktop. Um, but I had this dream, and Merlin was gone, and at the
Mhm.
time I only had 2 cats. I had Rhiannon and Tiger. And in my dream, I was on the computer because I spend a lot of time on my desktop. And inward walks Merlin. And I was thrilled because obviously I knew Merlin was visiting me from beyond. And I'm like, Merlin. And telepathically, he says to me, I'm not here to see you. I'm here to see Rhiannon Tiger. And he walked over and they had a little kitty meeting. And I was devastated. It's funny now, but I was so, I mean, my cat dished me in my dream.
It's like, listen, you think you're the only person in the world? No, I'm not coming to see you. You know what I think is funny? Years ago, when I was living in London, there was a cat, a black cat as it happened, that belonged to our neighbor. And this cat ran things. She literally ran things because the local fox, and there's, yes, foxes in London. The
Yeah, I've
local fox would
seen
come and
that.
they'd have a conversation of some kind, and then it would go off. The fox would go off somewhere. The other cats that were in that were in the complex I lived in, they always went around her and gave her a wide berth, like, oh, don't mess with her. It was hysterical to see. But in whatever she was doing, she ran the place. There was no doubt about that because everybody deferred to her. They reported into her. It was just the most interesting thing I had ever seen. But what tickled me was to see the fox actually, walk over and he'd stay a respectful distance, and something was going on. You could see that they were communicating in some way. I mean, however animals communicate with one another. But, it's like maybe she was giving him instructions. I don't know, because all of a sudden the communication would stop and it would just trot off somewhere. It was just hysterical. And to this day, it's like, once she moved, the whole tenor of the place changed. The cats started roaming all over the place and whatnot.
She was
But yeah,
supposed
she was the
to.
boss. Definitely the boss. No
I
doubt
mean,
about it.
I know, no, for me, cats, they communicate, with body language, obviously, we all do, telepathically, and they'll send pictures. Okay.
Hmm, hmm.
They'll send pictures like midnight when she was alive. She did the weirdest thing. I don't know how she did it. And she was the only one. Somehow it was like she was inside my head and she tapped on the top of my head, not this way, but inside. It was the weirdest feeling. It was so strange. But yeah, they do. I, and like when it was Merlin and Rhiannon's still alive, the late Merlin, they used to walk together and it was like they were on a mission. And I knew exactly what they wanted. They wanted a treat. And they were like, let's go get a treat. And they'd walk. Yeah, like they're people like animals are dumb. They're not.
Not at
They're
all.
very
Very
intelligent.
intelligent. To be honest, I think humans are they think they're so smart. I think sometimes we're the dumb animals, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But, it makes sense that they transmit images. They don't speak. They don't
Right.
have language as such. So they would think in pictures. And in fact, the reason why we dream, I mean, putting on my psychotherapist hat here for a
Right.
moment, the reason why we dream and it's in images, sometimes we have words, sometimes we have sound, but basically it's images because it comes from the oldest part of the brain,
Mm,
what they call the limbic brain or the reptilian brain. It was the oldest part of the brain that formed first, and we didn't have language then. So, we see a saber-toothed cat, that meant run. you
right.
know, that fruit that looks so juicy that nearly killed us, we don't want that. We stay away. So we stored information as images, as pictures. So it makes sense that even though the new brain or neocortex is formed around the reptilian brain, the oldest part of the brain, we still dream in pictures. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that an animal would transmit an image rather than words because they don't have language.
And I have a beautiful dream because obviously I dream a lot about cats. And I'm sharing them, and I remember my dreams. I don't always remember my clients' dreams, but this is a great dream to illustrate that point. One day, Merlin was, he was sitting and it was obvious there was something wrong. And I went to touch him and he was like, hissy, hissy, And
Mm.
so I knew something was wrong. And I said, okay, I'll leave you alone. But tomorrow, if you're not okay, I'm bringing you to the veti poo, which a veti poo is a bad word. Okay. So that night I said to Merlin, I said, could you let me know what's wrong with you? Okay.
Mhm.
And I had this dream, right? And Merlin was laying down, and I saw his spinal column, and it was all red, especially by the hip
Mhm.
area. Okay.
Mhm.
And I woke up, and Merlin was laying right next to me. So obviously he transmitted this to me. And I went over to his hip and I touched lightly. I said, does your hippie hurt? And he purred and he looked at me and he licked me. And I got
Mhm.
the message. All right.
Mhm.
So our cats do communicate with us and other animals. Obviously, I'm a crazy cat lady. So I told that's why I said cats and other animals for this, but they do communicate with us in our dreams,
Mhm. Yes, they do.
and during the day,
Well,
and
it's interesting that you didn't mean to cut you off. There's I remember there's a dream that I read once when I was doing my course on psychotherapy, and it was about uh, a man who and his dog in this case, and the dog was communicating something to the man, and he's like, okay, I'll let you jump up on the couch if you let me do something or other that he needed to do, and the dog was kind of getting in the way. So he said, okay, once I'm done, it's okay, you can go in and can jump up on the couch. Now, the wife all of a sudden sees the dog jump up on the couch and would not get off the couch. And finally the husband had to explain. It's like, listen, we made this deal, and the dog. I kept my end of the bargain, and the dog was allowed to get up on the couch. So if you leave him there because we agreed. I mean, so yes, they do. It's like you make a deal with your pet. Your pet is going to keep you honest and make you honor that the debt.
yeah, oh yeah, they're smart, and you know, I read this story one time because when you said that, it reminded me of this story. I wish I remembered the name of the book so I could give the author credit. Okay, but it was about cats, well, animals and the things they do, and this was during World War II in Germany. Okay, and there was I mean, obviously. All the Germans were not evil people. They were just caught up in a bad situation. So there was this German man who used to feed stray cats. Okay. And
Mm,
one time, one of the stray cats came and would kind of like hit against the door and opened up the door and he says, okay, don't worry, I'm going to feed you, just hold on. And it was
mm,
like real urgent. And the cat hit on the door again. And the guy opened up the door. And you know how cats do that little like walk, come with me, let's
Yeah,
follow me.
they go forward, they double back, they look
Yeah,
at you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. All right. So the cat did that, right? And the guy's like, okay, what do you want? And follow the cat a distance out of the house. And all of a sudden, like a bomb went and hit the guy's house and blew up the house. That stray cat saved that guy's life because, well, that was
Absolutely.
his meal ticket, but also cats. So, that's one
Yeah,
reason.
I mean, but
But
yeah, they have a sense that they perceive stuff that we're not able to
right,
with our conscious minds, and when they're insistent like that, it's usually for a reason.
right,
And it's just like, I just go with it. So, whether it's a bird, a dog, a cat, whatever it is, if they're insistent to that point, it's usually because there's something important.
right, right. And that's like whether it's in our dream time or in the daytime, because
Mhm.
we'll get back. They're not silly animals. They're there for a reason.
Sure.
Okay. They're not
Absolutely.
ignoring. They're trying to teach us something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, we we like you say, we call them dumb animals, but they're anything but. They actually tap into a wider intelligence that sometimes it escapes us smart humans completely.
Right, right, right. Well, that's what I like to say. Like when, you can't find your cat, okay? I like to say it's on another higher plane of existence. It's like, let me pop out of the 3D and let me go up to 5 or 8 or 12
Well,
or
yes, and it's funny because I remember reading years ago something about cats, and there was like, they're very psychic
yeah.
anyway. And when they're giving, like, when I would give Reiki treatments to clients, and there was a cat around, the cat sometimes would move things around, or with its tail, or push it with a paw.
Mm.
And apparently somebody who tapped into the psyche of cats said, you know what? They think we're pikers. They think we're amateurs when it comes to healing, which
Well,
I think is hilarious. It's like, let me show you how it's done.
yeah. Well, but you know what? Have you, when I try and like give healing energy to one of my cats, even though they're hurting, they'll take it for a minute or two and they're like, that's enough, human, like I can do it better than you.
Yeah,
And that's why when they lay
absolutely.
on us, they're actually like their purrs. I mean, scientifically, they heal us, but it's also their energy that heals us,
Mhm.
you know, and
Absolutely.
protects
But I
us.
think it's funny. They just think we're just so far behind them when it comes to healing, doing healing work. It's hilarious. But I mean, they've been around a lot longer than we have, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether they're little cats or big cats.
Oh yeah.
They all have that healing energy to them. Which is why, I mean, like the Sphinx in Egypt. What
Right.
is it? It's an enormous cat, and according to some traditions, it was a planetary guardian. It literally guards the planet.
Right. Right.
So I mean, they do healing big and small. They do healing at all levels, apparently, and they just tolerate tolerate humans and their struggling efforts. I think that's just hysterical.
Well, when Merlin came in, it was like this topic is not for humans. This is like much more. That's what the feeling was like. Like this is important cat stuff. You can't hear about this.
It's, I love it. So yeah, our animal friends, tap into a body of knowledge that, um, not to say that it's only the privileged few that can tap into it, but it's just that people are so unaware, and just dismiss that they may have knowledge that we don't have access to generally,
Right.
unless people are particularly psychic or what have you. And like you said, started at the beginning, you said we all have psychic ability. It's just
Right.
whether we actually develop it, and hone it so that, we pick up all of this extra energy and information that's just floating around in the air. I mean, Carl Jung called it the collective unconsciousness, and
Right.
that's the consciousness of everybody and everything. I mean, to give you an example, just to veer off subject slightly,
That's
one of
okay.
my healing crystals actually not only sends images, but it talks to me. And when I asked it psychically why, it said, "I just want to make sure you get the message." I'm like, okay.
Well, crystals, I mean, crystals are very powerful. They've been around, they have knowledge because they've been around so long, just like trees.
Yeah, yeah.
Trees communicate with each other. Why not
Yes,
crystals?
they
I
do.
mean,
Yeah.
animals. We're just dumb humans who don't understand their communication. So yeah, crystals, are very. I mean, they help us with technology, and and they
Mhm.
help heal you, and they're beautiful to look at. I mean, I have crystals all around me.
Yeah, I've got crystals everywhere in the room. So it's just like, yeah, that mean they have their own consciousness. It's very limited on our part to think that things do, because they're inanimate, that they're, or don't move, and not necessarily inanimate, but that they don't have consciousness. I mean, to give you an example, you talk about trees for a second. Our mango tree this year, last year, it didn't give us any mangoes, and it was infected with a tropical fungus that hits
Mm,
trees like coconut trees, mango trees, tropical trees. But this year, early in the year, I was treating it with a very powerful anti-fungicide, which, I use very sparingly because I don't like using strong chemicals. But this year we had a bumper crop,
mm,
and I was of mangoes, but in between giving it this treat, doing this treatment to get rid of the fungus, I was also giving it Reiki. And,
mm.
and I would ask the tree, psychically, it's like, are you okay? And the tree, the limbs would actually bounce a little bit, even if there wasn't a breeze. The branches would kind of bounce a little bit as if it was responding. And the amount of mangoes that we got this year, and the sweetness of them, was just off the scale. So it's just like, even they express gratitude. That was its way of saying thank you, because we were absolutely loaded. Loaded. We got the people were coming, our neighbors were coming and eating the mic. Well, there were so many, we couldn't have eaten them all
Right.
anyway. But the birds were eating, the people were eating. It was just incredible. So, they have a consciousness, they hold memory, and it's up to us to be accepting, um and to open ourselves up to the energy that animals, plants, trees, crystals, all have, to teach us something, if we're able to tap into that wider knowledge. So
Right. And that's why many of us aren't, and that's why they come into our dreams,
yes,
you know?
absolutely.
Because even though people are like, "Oh, it's just a stupid dream." Oh no, that dream meant something. You just don't know how to interpret it. That's
That's
all.
right. And that's the thing. I think that the only way to really start to be able to understand our dreams is just to record them, and not just think that they're the result of cheap wine or cheese at night.
I've heard that too. Gee.
I mean, but this is like some of the things that I've heard over the years working with people. Oh, I ate too late, or whatever. I had, a lot of bad wine, whatever. But no, the dreams have a meaning, they have a power, and they can teach us a lot. I mean, to give you an example, one of my clients, back in when I was living in London, he was actually giving, like, esoteric spiritual teachings to one of his sons and the son's friend
Mm,
in the dream state. And one day the son came to him and said, I had this funny dream, and it was like this. And he repeated back what the teachings were, not perfectly, but close enough that the father knew that, okay, you did receive it. So we can even learn from our dreams during the sleep state,
oh,
if we're receptive enough. And children, being that they're much more open,
mm,
can receive that information. And so, dreams have serve various purposes, as you well know. Sometimes to teach us, sometimes to warn us, sometimes just to, like you talk about my smokestack dreams,
yeah.
sometimes just to blow off the stresses and strains of the day. I mean, I laugh. I said, when I dream about answering my phone at work, it's like, okay. When I was still working, it's just like, oh yeah, it's like, that was a bit annoying. The day was a bit annoying, and my system was trying to throw off that stress. So
Mm,
dreams have various can and help us with various situations in various ways,
right.
and serve various purposes. But we have to be open to them, and we have to take them at their word, so to speak, and keep and take note of them, write them down, because that's where you start to learn about what a symbol means for you, what black cats mean, what this means, what that means. If you're not recording that information and developing your own kind of dictionary, in a sense, you're not going to understand the dreams. And dream books are just too general. I mean, think about it. Is a dream book going to tell you that, you had a fight with your teenagers, your husband is getting on your nerves, and you always wanted to be a ballerina? No.
Right.
you know it's just not. They can't do that. It's just too general. You have to, in the context of your life, in the context of what's going on in your life at a given moment, your symbols are pertinent to you at that time in that particular circumstance. And that's something that I think people don't really get, that it's not just a one-off thing, that this is something that's been building up, if you will, over time. And therefore, to be able to understand, you have to go back, in a sense, backtrack a little bit to see, well, what could that be telling me about? What could that be related to?
Right, right. And I want to add that even AI, I did you know, on my website, I did a blog. Can AI interpret your dream? Right.
Mm,
And I used a dream example, and I got AI to interpret it. And I have to say, AI did a good job, but it was very generic. And like dreams, a lot of times have more than one meaning, as you know, Sheila. And sometimes you'll get one interpretation, and then time goes by, a month, a year, or whatever, and you get another one. So I
yeah.
ran it through, and I was like, okay, yes, I could see that. Okay.
Mhm,
But it
mhm.
turned out it was a precognitive dream of something that happened the next day. It was kind of like a warning it was going to happen. And you know what? You're not going to find that in a dream book. AI is not going to interpret that,
No, not at
and
all.
maybe even a dream interpreter wouldn't be able to get it like me. Okay.
Right.
And that's why you need to look our dreams and our animals in the dreams teach us about us,
Hmm.
what we need to do, who we really are, what we're feeling, and give us direction on our life path. And sometimes it
Absolutely.
connects us with, higher beings or your loved ones who've crossed over.
Well, it's funny you talk about precognitive dreams. When during my psychotherapy course, a part of our work was coursework was to actually bring a dream to the class, and we would get different perspectives, and we would present the dream, and people would give their take on what they understood from the dream, which was actually quite powerful, because it would open up other perspectives that we may not have considered. But this dream, I wish I had understood what it was trying to tell me beforehand. I was running a bit late to get to the class, and I had this really short dream where, at the time, I was doing martial arts, and I was looking for my belt, that signifies my rank. And I couldn't find it. And I was dressed in black, which is unusual because the outfit that we would wear was white.
Mm,
And, it's like I didn't think much more about it. And I rushed out the house, and I went to class. And when I got to class, that particular tutor that was running the class that day, um, for whatever reason, she didn't like me. And I think that was because I could see right through her.
yeah, people, I understand that.
And, we did an exercise. We went off into different rooms, and we were paired off and doing a particular exercise. And then when we came back, we were asked to tell what had transpired during this particular exercise. I recounted what I had experienced. My partner confirmed that, and she's like, "That's completely wrong. That's not." And she literally had a go at me. She attacked me in the class, and I had to get up, and I had to go into the bathroom, because it was like my hands started to clench, and
Mm,
it's like, dear God, I'm going to kill this. itch. Like, if I stay near her a minute more, I was so angry. I was crying in the bathroom,
Mm,
not from upset, but I was so angry that I was crying. I managed to throw some water in my face and calm down. And it wasn't until I went home, I was on my way home, that finally the dream became clear. I was being warned that I was literally going into battle because I mean,
mm,
martial arts. I was literally going into battle, but I couldn't find my. I wasn't wearing my proper uniform. It was black
mm,
instead of white,
right,
and I couldn't find my belt. So I was, in a sense, defenseless.
right. But it also made you, it was somebody seeing you in a different light than who you were.
Yes,
Because of the
absolutely.
color.
And then, so, at that point, I started laughing. I think the people who were around me on on the train must have said, "This woman is crazy," because I just started laughing for no apparent reason. Because the penny dropped, and I understood what the dream had been trying to warn me about. It was just like this woman came after me for no good reason. It was like, I don't know. She got up on the wrong side of the bed. She had a fight with a partner. I don't know, but she had a go at me, and it was just left me completely floored. It was just like literally defenseless, because it was just like, what are you doing? Why
Right.
are you doing this to me? And that's why I said sometimes we need to take an extra 5 minutes, be it a little bit more late, and listen to what the dream was trying to say. So, but again, it was the symbolism of it. I mean, the change of clothing, unable to find my belt. And again, it was a little snippet of a dream. It was literally minutes,
Right.
but it had so much information packed into those few minutes that if I had perhaps taken a little bit more time to sit with it, just a few minutes perhaps, I might have, spared myself, wanting to kill my my tutor. And I laughed because when I told my training therapist, she's like, "Just kill them in your dreams, darling. Just kill them in
But you know what? You did,
your."
protect yourself and her when you went to the bathroom. Do you know
Yeah,
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I had to, because I was so distraught. It was just like, and I have to admit, I mean, I have a fiery temper, and it was just like I would have knocked her flat on her, excuse my ass, on her
Oh, yeah.
ass,
Oh,
if
yeah.
if I had stayed there a minute longer. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. So let me just go in the bathroom and try to compose
But
myself.
sometimes, we, like I'll use that the dream that AI said was something totally different. Sometimes, even if I had sat there and thought, well, this is going to happen tomorrow, this is
Mm.
why it's going to happen. Sometimes you just need to experience life to say, "Oh, I got it." And now, when you have that, like with precognitive dreams, like people are like, "Well, how do I know?" Well, sometimes you have to go through the experience. So the next time you have the dream, it's like, "Okay, well, I felt like that in my prior dream of the
Hmm.
future," you
Hmm.
know? So
Absolutely. I mean, and it's funny because just before COVID hit, I had clients who were dreaming about bugs. They were dreaming about China or dreaming about Asia. I mean, and this was months and months before COVID actually hit. So again, it's that collective unconscious, because there were people from literally from different parts of the planet. Some were in the UK where I was living at the time. Some was, in Australia. Some were, they were
right,
all over the place. But they were picking up this energy that was literally out there. If you were receptive enough, you were able to kind of pull it down, and bring it down into conscious, awareness. And, like I said, they were dreaming about bugs.
right,
They were dreaming about Asia, China, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until COVID actually hit that, the penny dropped for me, even,
right.
that this is what was going on, that, Okay, that's why everybody was dreaming about bugs and angels. So, we all have the ability to tap into things. It's just that we're not always receptive for
Right.
whatever reason.
And I want to point out that dreams have a couple meanings. So sometimes those dreams about bugs were precognitive, but it was also about what's bugging them. Or maybe
As
there's bugs
well.
in the house that
Yes.
they need. So
Yes.
sometimes it's more than one meaning.
One thing. Yes, of
Right.
course. And
You know?
it's all about context.
Right.
It's all about context. I mean, I dreamt about what saved a dream that saved my life, literally, had to do with 9/11. And that was over a year before it hit,
Mm.
before those towers got hit. And I walked through the towers every day as a stockbroker, every single
Wow.
day. And something, and I kept having these nightmares night after night after night after. It was awful. It was just terrible. And that finally, I resolved to move back to London. I was trying to get my husband to join me in New York, and it wouldn't happen. But I got my visa to return to the UK in like
Mm.
3 days. And so I moved back. And then one day, went to home for lunch because I lived near where I worked, and I got back to the doctor's office where I worked, and the people were running around like crazy. What the hell is going on? And all I could get out of people was tower hit,
Mm.
and it was like, what? And then the penny at that moment, the penny dropped.
Mm.
Oh my God! I mean, even now, I get chills when I think about it, and it's just like I could have been there.
Oh yeah.
If I had stayed, I would have been there. A girlfriend of mine, she worked in the same in the building next to mine. She wasn't at work that day. A friend of mine, the wife worked in one of in the tower complex, and the daycare center. She didn't go to work that day. I mean, it was just like by the grace of God, and it's like the dreams frightened me so much that it was just like, okay, okay, you don't want me to stay here. There's something going on. I won't, I'll just leave. I'll just go back to England. And it's like, if I hadn't listened,
Right.
I don't even want to think about it.
Well,
So, you talk about, and this was over a year before this happened, over a year. But the dream impressed me so greatly that it was just like I acted on it immediately because it was just like, it was just too frightening. And it was funny because it wasn't even, about towers. It was about shipwrecks, ships going down at sea.
mm.
And it was just, well, and then after kind of sitting with it, it was just like, well, you know what they used to call airplanes in the early days of aviation? They were airships.
Mm.
Airships. So, I mean, it tapped into a really more primitive or earlier part of life. It didn't show me airplanes. It showed me ships going down in stormy seas. And it was a firestorm, quite frankly,
Right.
when this all happened. So it was accurate in terms of the feeling, but the presentation was different.
Right.
And maybe that was deliberate, because I think anything else would have probably scared me, completely out of my mind. So, sometimes we're given clues about things way in advance of the actual event. You just don't know. But if you're at least paying attention, if it is something that you really need to be aware of and need to, avoid. If you're writing it down, at least you have that information to be able to look at.
Right.
So, it's six of one and half a dozen of the other. But what's important is that you have to start paying attention. That's the only way you're going to understand what's going on and learn what symbols mean for you at a given moment, is to take note.
Right. Right. And like with with Merlin and Midnight, I got dreams of their upcoming deaths that were very symbolic. But because I've
Mhm,
been doing dream interpretation for a long time, and one time with my mom before she passed, I
mhm,
understood the meaning. But when you're talking about a disaster before Hurricane Florence came, I had this dream, right? And I won't go into the details, it was kind of long. And I told my husband about it. And I said, okay, well, this dream is telling me that we're going to be safe, we can stay, because sometimes they have like an evacuation, but I knew we would be okay. And then after we were okay and things unfolded like the dream, I even had a dream the night before. This is kind of funny because you can't, it's cold, we took a shower but it's cold, but I had a dream about being in a hot shower, and after like days without electricity, the next day, boom, the electric went on. I could take a hot shower. I was so happy. But
Yay!
I said to him, I was like, if we ever had a dream, if I ever have a dream and it spells disaster and we need to leave, you're coming with me. We're taking the cats, and I don't care what you say, you're coming with me because that dream proved it, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think we've covered everything from
Yeah. Yeah.
disasters to cats to to birds, trees, crystals.
Visitations from deceased loved ones, dreaming of the future. So anyhow, we better wrap up. We've had Karen. I'm gonna Stone. I hope I said your last name wrong. I'm really bad with pronouncing Asian last names. And there's someone else. I'm not sure who it is. I want to thank you. Uh, and Karen says, "Loving this, ladies. Thank you for coming on today." And I'm sure whoever listens to it afterwards. And please follow both me, Pamela, and Sheila. On Substack, and I'll be sharing this elsewhere. And Sheila, thank you so much for coming on today. It
Oh,
was,
it's my pleasure. It's
yeah,
always a pleasure when we get together and have a chat about dreams.
yeah, we could go
I
on.
mean, we've been doing this for quite some time now, so it was nice to kind of pick things up again.
Yeah, well, I guess we've known each other for like 5 or 6 years. I don't know. Well, we've never met, but how long?
Yeah, but well, yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been about at least 5 years. I think it may be a bit more now, but yeah, it's
We,
been a while.
yes, but we won't tell anybody. All right, everyone. Thank you, Sheila, for coming on, and thank you for
Thank
listening,
you.
and thank you, future listeners. All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.